Welcome to West Virginia Sports Connection. We are coming to you from Adelphia Sports Bar and Grill in downtown Charleston, West Virginia. I'm your host, Tracy Abdullah, joined as always by my co-host, three-time NFL All-Pro Carl Lee from the Minnesota Vikings. Today our special guest is from the Charleston Gazette-Mail. He's the sports editor, Derek Redd, and also the sports director for HD Media. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of titles, man.
I was going to say, busy man.
Yeah, I think, like as we were talking earlier, I think we're three guys with a lot of irons in the fire.
Got a lot of things hanging out there, huh? Listen, I want to jump right on football. I mean, this is our football show, and we'll start with West Virginia. After the Missouri game, I think everybody was like, oh, the sky's falling, and it looked horrible. And it did look very bad. And then they kind of turned around against NC State, which a lot of people didn't expect. And they played, really, for 3 quarters, toe-to-toe with Texas. Right. Same thing this past week with Iowa State. And then the bottom kind of fell out in the fourth quarter of both of those games. So now they sit at 3-3. Carl, after seeing some of this stuff, Derek, after seeing the ups and downs, and there's been a lot in 6 games already, how do you think this team is progressing under Neil Brown?
Well, I think this is a good coached football team. I just think that it's young. They'll have to find their way. You know, I can remember being a freshman at Marsh University, new coach, and you end up running out of, seniors will jump ship early, and you'll have a few that'll stay. And so now molding that group, with young players who barely know how to play college ball, I think that becomes a challenge. What I think you want to see and how you want to judge this football team is just how they play. Mm-hmm. If they don't give up, they may not win, but if they play hard, then that's going to be a group that you're going to be that's going to be coachable as you go forward. I was on some teams that, literally you'd be 2-1 starting out because you played some teams that were less than you. Then you get into conference play, and then it's loss, and then everybody shuts down. Those freshmen are still excited. They're still trying to mold themselves into something. So I think the future is going to be better than what it is, especially for this week. I think the future will be better for this group. And I think, again, I said this before, I think Neil Brown you have to understand what he's going through, and that he's got young players and he's building a football team.
I think to your point, you don't see quit in these guys. Right. Like there have been times in previous seasons where if it gets away, then the bottom falls out and everyone's just like, you know what, whatever. Whereas with this year, I think you're really seeing them fight all the way through. And I think Tom Bragg, our WVU reporter, he wrote a column that was on Monday's e-edition of the Gazette-Mail, and you can find it still on WVGazetteMail.com. He really talked about how it looks like this season might be getting away from WVU, and the problem is it's a personnel deal. Because now when Austin Kendall gets hurt against Iowa State, is Allison the guy? Well, I don't know. Now you've got, I think it was Petaway's hurt this week. You have your running backs have been the deepest group that you've had, but the run game for this team is just not where it should be. You have shallow depth in the secondary. You have injuries on the offensive line. Marcus Sims was supposed to be a guy you were just going to count on in the wide receiver group. He's gone. So you are having the problem of, okay, as guys get hurt, as attrition happens, like Giovanni Stewart. Was it Giovanni? Yeah. When he leaves and you're now playing a true freshman there, how do you overcome just the fact that you don't have that many bodies anymore? So, and I think that's where the real problems are really starting to come in for them. There's like injuries and stuff like that. They're just starting to run low on just people.
And when you start looking at the defensive line, and for Oklahoma, you look at the number of sacks they got last week, and you start to look at being a young football team, having a backup quarterback in the football game who's going to get hit, if not sacked. He's going to get hit a bunch, and that's going to be disheartening for the football team if you keep looking up your 3rd and 15, your 3rd and 12. You start looking at that 3rd and long, and it becomes frustrating. But I think Neil Brown is the kind of coach that's going to keep these guys in perspective, and if he can hold them, together, and if he can, and I don't know, and I've said this before, for the WVU fan base, it has to be better than just thinking that you can bring in a new coach and he can just rebuild right now and just all of a sudden you can go to the top.
Yeah.
That's just not realistic at any level of football, anywhere, any sport. And I think you have a guy whose all the intentions are good, and he's doing all the right things. He's just going to have to build that football team, and you're going to have to bear with that, no matter whether you like it or not. And I think that's going to be critical for the fan base.
I think with the ups and downs of this season so far, especially after the Missouri game, I like the changes he's made. It looks like this guy makes adjustments, and this isn't sour grapes. I think he's making better adjustments than I saw in the previous coaching staff, right off the bat.
Well,
and you can actually see the tangible results of it, and all these people, I didn't think Jack Allison played that bad. I thought he played fairly well. It kind of, like I said, fell apart at the end, but I mean, he converted a couple of 3rd and longs just to get the game tied to half.
Let me just say this, because I want you to respond to this. I don't think, to your point about Neil Brown being a better coach than what's been there in the past, he's not trying to create himself above his football team. He is part of West Virginia football team, and he's okay sitting behind the team, taking any blame, taking any criticism, answering any question, and sit behind the team. Where I just don't think, when you think you're a guru and you're the guy, you make every football team go, I don't think you can sit. You can't take those losses. You can't do any of that because you think you're bigger than the team. Am I wrong in that?
No, when I talk with people, when I ask them about Neil Brown, they said one word that pops out right off the bat is genuine.
Yes.
He's a genuine guy. He is, like, when you listen to his press conferences, when you watch his press conferences, it's different. Like for instance, there's no, am I going to get all of the information I'm looking for in an injury report? No, he's not going to tell me exactly where it's hurt. But I mean, I get the NHL upper body injury, but at least he's saying he's hurt and he's going to be out an indeterminate amount of time. And it gets to a point where they don't walk in and the reporter doesn't have to ask. He walks in and goes, well, you're probably going to be wanting to know about this and this, but it's not his shoulder, it's not his arm, it's a chest thing, it's an upper body thing. We don't know. We'll see later. And he gives you enough to where you're not grabbing and where you're not, just trying to on the hunt for anything. He gives, he understands the job of the media. One, I think he also understands kind of where they are, and also, I don't know if people make an important point of this, but I think it's important. He has a 6-year deal. So he has the time.
He's got time to
He's
develop.
got the time. He has the confidence of the athletic department to do that.
I'm gonna cut you off right there. We'll come right back to that. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll finish talking about that, and then bring up Marshall football as well.
Funding for West Virginia Sports Connection provided by West Virginia State University, The Barnes Agency, Spriggs Distributed, Tony the Tailor, West Virginia's finest men's store, Paul Corey, CPA and Associates, Hendrickson and Long.
It's fall here at Tony the Tailor. No one in the Mid-Atlantic does men's clothing like Tony the Tailor. Best selection of quality sportswear from Johnny O, Brax, and Ledbury. Huge shoe department featuring Cole Haan and DiBianco. Jackets and suits from Hickey Freeman, Samuelson, and Talia. And, of course, free alterations by Master Tailors. Tony the Tailor, 822 Virginia Street, downtown Charleston, or online at bestmastertailor.com.
Welcome back to West Virginia Sports Connection. We are coming to you from Adelphia Sports Bar and Grill. We're talking with our guest, Derek Redd from the Charleston Gazette-Mail. When we went out, we were talking about the 6-year deal Brown has signed.
Yeah, I just think it's it's confidence from the administration that we like you so much that we're going to give you, like a lot of the times it's kind of the boilerplate's the 5-year deal, but it's really a 4-year deal because you've got until that year before you become a lame duck to figure it out, and because if you go into that 5th year without an extension, you're just a lame duck, and your recruiting is wrecked and all that. So having him on a 6-year deal, it's like I said, it's confidence. It's their confidence in him. It shows everybody else that they're confident, and it gives him kind of the peace of mind to know that I can play the long game. Because I really think there's some long game being played here. I think he's, and it has to be, because he's got to rebuild this roster, because there was not a lot left, especially kind of on in terms of skill players. No quarterbacks, the wide receivers were all drafted to your best tight ends in the NFL. And it's not like they all went off and deserted. They all went to the NFL. So, this is a case where you got to get some time and kind of build from within. He said he likes building from recruiting. He likes not in the sense of JUCOs and transfers. He likes building like from the high school ranks. That takes a little time. It
does, and you talk about the 6-year deal, and most of the time, at least historically, it's always been at least 4 years to kind of get that team turned around based off the premise of, like, you got to get your first class all the way to a senior class. So now that whole roster, it reflects you. So now if he gets that whole roster that reflects him at the 4-year mark, to your point of having essentially 2 extra years to go, that's not a bad deal. I mean, now you've got a class of experience in this day and age to find a couple of quarterbacks, find a couple of receivers. I mean, you're going to get those kind of natural players. Now, did you get him this year? Maybe not. But maybe next year, the year after, and you're building piece by piece, offensive line, defensive line, corners, all that kind of stuff. So I think that is truly a benefit now.
Yeah, I think with the quarterback thing, it's like, Kendall came in late, Deggy came in later. When that's the pool that you're drawing from, it's tough. And frankly, Allison showed, I think, in the bowl game that I don't know if he's a starter. I don't know if he's a starter on this team. I mean, he might be a good backup, but I don't know if he's a guy that you put out there every week. So it's a case of you've got to really. That's a place that you really got to find your guy.
And he's got to have time to get his own players, and fortunately for him and for the program, they're giving him some time to do so.
Yeah, but he's got some good ones now. The both Stills brothers. He's got some really good wide receivers. The running backs are solid. Bryson Mays, as Tom Braga said, like, this guy might be a 4-year starter at center. Like, that's kind of how well he's doing now in his first year and he was kind of like the second or third choice at that position, and now all of a sudden he's really kind of flourished in that spot, and it's a really important spot.
So now let me ask you this then, because let's assume he's got great receivers now. Obviously, you got to get a better line. And you say that he likes to recruit kind of out of high school and all that. But when you start having these receivers, now do you look to find that transfer or that JUCO quarterback that might be the real deal for you? And what will it take for them to get that guy if they're not playing successful or looking good and be an attractive draw to a quarterback?
It might be Daggy, though. It might be. This is a guy who led the MAC in, I believe, passing touchdowns and passing yards. So he was a 2-year starter at Bowling Green. So this is a guy who has starting experience, and that's the thing that Kendall did not have and Allison did not have, is that and Lowe didn't have. Like, these are guys that had never started a game. Kendall, yes, he was at Oklahoma behind 2 Heisman winners, but he never started. So now you have a guy in Daggy. Let's see. I've said, okay, if it gets away from him, you've got 4 games before the red shirt goes away. Maybe.
Let's see what we got.
Let's see what you got. But regardless, you've got him practicing in your system for a year, and you're going to have that red shirt, and then he's going to be able to come in and really, I think, start to compete for that starting job. I think he could be it could be a guy.
With a fan base, feel like, all right, you're sinking the ship. You're just giving up and going to next year. Dude,
I don't think he's giving up. I think.
I get it. No,
yeah.
I totally get it. But for the fan base, like, why are you doing?
I'm not. Here's the thing. You would have heard it by now, and I don't hear it. Everyone's like, there's a whole lot of benefit of the doubt being given right now. I think because they all know how steep that hill he's got.
The program was left.
He's a hard coach to dislike.
He's really, yeah.
You know, he's a hard coach to dislike. I mean,
guy.
you've got to be doing some real digging if you're going to dislike him. You know, I mean, he doesn't give you anything. He shoots you straight. He's there, and he is that guy. He is what you see.
Well, he's that younger guy, but I want to switch gears a little bit. I want to go come a little further south and to your stomping grounds, to Marshall. You know, I was joking with some friends. I'm like, man, you know, Marshall was doing pretty well. They lost to Boise State, played him very tough, and Doc was on our show, and then they lost 2 straight games. Like, man, he ain't never coming back on our show. But at the midway point, they're now 3-3. What kind of season are they having? Because I thought when I watched them play Boise State, man, their defense was just awesome that game. And then they, you know, Cincinnati was not kind to them, which was really surprising to me. I don't know if Cincinnati's that good.
They're nationally ranked.
But they really took it to them.
Yeah.
They really took it to them. So where is this Marshall team? Because Green is still a young quarterback. He's still young.
I'm not sold on the quarterback even with the youth, but I'm not 100% sold on the quarterback. But I think the Cincinnati game was a wake-up game. You know, and if Doc keeps saying to these guys constantly, because you're ranked and all these people have this expectations for you, you still have to go and play. And you've covered it enough. Guys, you know, teams that are supposed to be good, depending on that personality of the team, they walk like they're good. They don't practice like they're good. They just walk like they're good.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they get into a game and somebody beats them up. And they'll like start to look around like, oh, what happened? Because you just automatically, because somebody wrote and said you were good, you just think that you can just show up and be good. And you can't do that. You can't do that against a team like Cincinnati. You have to show up. They're not gonna go through the conference undefeated. Well, clearly they've already lost one, but they still have the potential of losing just about any week if they don't show up. And they have to show up.
Well, with that, we're going to take another break. We went along WVU, so I want to come back and I want to talk about Marshall. Listen, if you like what you see, you can check us out on West Virginia's Public Broadcasting West Virginia channel Thursdays at 7 p.m. You can also check us out on Facebook, on YouTube, on Apple iTunes, and our website at WVSportsConnection.com. Don't go away. We're going to talk more Marshall football.
Funding for West Virginia Sports Connection provided by West Virginia State University, The Barnes Agency, Spriggs Distributing, Tony the Tailor, West Virginia's finest men's store, Paul Corey, CPA and Associates, Hendrickson and Long.
It's fall here at Tony the Tailor. No one in the Mid-Atlantic does men's clothing like Tony the Tailor. Best selection of quality sportswear from Johnny O, Brax, and Ledbury. Huge shoe department featuring Cole Haan and DiBianco. Jackets and suits from Hickey Freeman, Samuelson, and Talia. And, of course, free alterations by Master Tailors. Tony the Tailor, 822 Virginia Street, downtown Charleston, or online at bestmastertailor.com.
Welcome back to Sports Connection. We're talking with Derek Red from the Charleston Gazette-Mail. Derek, we were talking about Marshall football, and they kind of got, to use your word, shellacked by Cincinnati, which is a good team. I mean, they're a good team. They're nationally ranked.
Yeah.
But we were also talking about the one that's kind of a head-scratcher is the Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, like,
I mean, what happened there?
Well, I just look, it's like, look, Cincinnati losing that game is understandable. Boise losing that game is understandable. These are two nationally ranked teams. Everyone knew they were going to be good going into the season, but then you have a Middle Tennessee team that had been struggling, just struggling, and Marshall loses to them. Now it's and to your point that you're saying at the break, Now it's like, oh, we can beat them. It's like you don't walk off the bus winning the game.
Right.
And that's not something that I think Doc ever wants to do anyway, but it's a case of you lose that aura and you lose that at least psychological advantage, and now teams are going to come at you tougher. Florida Atlantic's 4-2. Florida Atlantic's no joke. You still got FIU. Butch Davis can coach. You still got Western. That's a rivalry game. They are going to be in a dogfight every game they play from here on out. And this is a team that everyone thought, with the talent they had back, was going to be a division champion. They're going to be playing for the conference title. So I don't know what it is, but they just have. There's got to be something. They got to just. They got to keep their turnovers down. That was the big thing with the Middle Tennessee game. I think it was 4 turnovers. Now, as Doc said, and something I wrote in a column last week, quarterbacks, the picks aren't always their fault. The receiver runs a wrong route. There's the miscommunication between receiver and quarterback. But regardless, you have to, as a team, cut down on these turnovers. And I think that's what killed them against Middle, is they had some really good chances, but they gave the ball away. So if I'm them, that's the big thing I focus on from here on out. Ball protection and making sure that if you gain 500 yards, get some points out of it.
Well, and I'm going to jump on to make sure everybody understands what just getting off the bus really means. Mm-hmm. When you're a championship team and you get off the bus, you walk into the stadium, mm-hmm. The other team is looking, and you're like, man, they even look good. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, just the way they walk. And you get that when you are supposed to be, mm-hmm. and you live up to being that champion.
Like the 2014 Marshall team.
Absolutely. When you come walking into a stadium, and the other team is looking at you, no matter how confident they were, when you walk in,
they're like,
yeah, it's a little bit uncomfortable. And so I want to make sure everybody understands that, because that swagger, when you lose to a team that you shouldn't have, all you do now is you can walk in however you want. They lost last week mm-hmm. to such and such. And so now I feel like we got a chance to play against them.
So put on your coaching hat for a second. How is Doc now reacting to the things that have transpired over the last couple of weeks?
I know Doc is, Doc's a little old school. So I'm thinking, I think practice wasn't really comfortable. No. I don't think practice was comfortable. And I know, I think they play Friday night, right? Mm-hmm, and so they had to move, they start their Monday practice on Sunday. So already things are already not in the correct order. Mm-hmm. But you try to keep them, just change the days. Monday is Sunday, and it's just, and you just try to go through that. I'm really sure though, he is pressing every single detail of every single drill, all from the beginning of practice until you get undressed or dressed to get out of the locker room. You better do it in the right order, mm-hmm. because if not, that's going to be a problem.
And do the players notice this? Do they notice the difference? Obviously, the day change. Do they like?
Yeah, they do.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, they do.
If you've been if you know anything about Doc, you don't have to figure out where he's at. If he's unhappy, you will clearly know he's unhappy. That is not a question.
All right, I want to flip. It's going to be interesting to see how both seasons play out for both West Virginia and Marshall. I want to talk about high school football before we run out of time. I know Cabell Midland is ranked 1 in AAA. Is there anybody better than Martinsburg? I mean, is there anybody better than Martinsburg? Or are they just going to steamroll?
I want to add to that before you answer. Or is this just, let's just not make them number 1 so they'll be mad?
Well, but that's it. Well, but here's the thing. That's just it.
There's no run through everybody.
But with these playoff ratings, there is no opinion or conjecture. This is a mathematical formula. So I think one of the things that's happening is, and this happened last year, Martinsburg's 4, Martinsburg's 5, Martinsburg's 3, and all of a sudden they win a couple of games and Martinsburg's 1. Cabell Midland, I think one of the things that's helping them is the overall strength of the Mountain State Athletic Conference. That is a murderer's row of teams, even the 2 and 3 teams. You're not going to get an easy game against South Charleston. You're not going to get an easy game against teams that their records might not be great, but they still have talent. And the reason the records aren't great is because they're playing other teams in the MSAC. So I think that's part of it. But in the end, to quote noted philosopher Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And until you go to Wheeling and beat Martinsburg still, you would still look at Martinsburg as a favorite.
Well, and to me, like, all this does is to every single player on Martinsburg's team, to look at second, look at third, look at fourth, look at fifth, looking at that and saying, this is not us. This our history has shown that we always win. We're always there at the last game. How dare they put us? How dare they underrate us?
Yeah, man, you don't need to give them any more motivation, man.
You can't give them that.
So is that true bulletin board material? Do they look at it and be like, are you freaking kidding me?
But here's the question, though. Because it's happened more than once and they've just played through it, is it bulletin board material, or does it become like, yeah, we play a bunch of Maryland teams, so we're fourth, but just wait till the end.
Yeah. Wait until we play you. Wait till we play you. To whoever that team that's won, any team.
I hate to be that 16 team or that 15 team. I really do.
Yeah, because it's just going to be it. I mean, you cannot root against them. You can't. I don't know what the math is, but it is way more mathematical than I can do.
Yeah.
Because it's real simple for me, math. Martinsburg won, and let's go from there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There's like schedule strength and stuff like that. It's a whole big thing. Like,
all right. Well, listen, I hate to cut this off. I'd love to be able to continue this, but we've run out of time. Listen, thanks for watching, Derek. Thanks for coming down. I want you to come back again soon.
Yeah, and before we go, if you go to All Ears, our WVU podcast on WVGazetteMail.com, and you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Tom Bragg and I talk about West Virginia football, West Virginia basketball, West Virginia sports. It's a good fun time.
Check us out on West Virginia Public Broadcasting's West Virginia channel, Thursday, 7 o'clock. We'll see you next time.